Every night your body sleeps, but your mind doesn't always follow. It slips into images, movement, landscapes, some remembered, some forgotten, some far too vivid to be dismissed as just a dream. But what exactly is happening in those states? And more importantly, what are you? Are you dreaming, or are you traveling? For centuries, mystics have spoken of journeys beyond the body. They called it astral projection, soul flight, conscious separation. Modern science, on the other hand, has studied lucid dreaming, the state in which the dreamer becomes aware they're dreaming and can begin to control the dream itself. The two are often confused. Both involve awareness during unconscious states. Both can be vivid, surreal, and deeply personal. Both challenge the boundary between mind and reality, but they are not the same. One is a manipulation of the inner landscape. The other is an exit from it. And to understand the difference, we must first ask, what is consciousness doing when the body goes still? Because the answer to that question leads us to a deeper one. Where does the self go when it's no longer anchored to the senses? To understand the difference between lucid dreaming and astral projection, we must define them not by sensation, but by structure. Lucid dreaming occurs when you become aware that you are dreaming, while still within the dream. The body is asleep. The brain is in REM, rapid eye movement state. And the mind, usually passive during this phase, suddenly awakens inside the dream world. You realize, this is not real, I am dreaming. And with that awareness, you can often shape the dream. Fly. Speak to people who don't exist. Explore surreal environments with full control. It is a conscious mind navigating an unconscious simulation. Everything you see, feel, and hear is generated from within. Your body remains in bed. Your awareness remains within the boundary of the skull, projected inward. Astral projection is different. Here, the sensation is not of being inside a dream, but of separating from the body itself, often triggered during deep meditation, sleep paralysis, or intentional exit techniques. Astral projection begins with a split. You feel yourself detach. You may hear vibrations, buzzing, or a sudden shift in perception, and then you are no longer in your body, but looking at it. This experience has no dream logic. Rooms look the same. Your house is your house. Time feels real. Many report floating near the ceiling, walking through walls, leaving the building altogether, traveling, geographically or interdimensionally, beyond the physical. In lucid dreaming, you are inside the mind. In astral projection, you have stepped beyond it. And that is the fundamental difference. Lucid dreaming is a mental simulation with conscious override. Astral projection is the conscious self leaving the physical vehicle entirely. To mistake one for the other is common, but to experience both is to know the boundary between mind and awareness, and from there, everything changes. To explore lucid dreaming and astral projection scientifically, we must begin with the brain. Both states begin during sleep, but they diverge sharply in their neurological profiles. Lucid dreaming occurs during REM sleep, a state marked by high brain activity, similar in many ways to wakefulness. During REM, the body is paralyzed, a natural safeguard to prevent us from physically acting out our dreams. But the brain is active. Rapid eye movements, increased heart rate, irregular breathing. In a typical dream, the prefrontal cortex, the center for logic and self-awareness, is quiet. But during a lucid dream, this region partially reactivates. It's as if consciousness wakes up inside the sleeping brain. You become self-aware within the dream simulation. EEG scans during lucid dreams show an unusual hybrid pattern. Alpha waves associated with relaxed wakefulness, combined with REM characteristics like theta and beta activity. The result is paradoxical, a dreaming brain that knows it's dreaming. Now compare that to reports of astral projection. There is no single confirmed EEG profile for astral projection. That's because it doesn't always occur during standard REM. In fact, many experiences happen during the liminal space, the transitional state between wakefulness and sleep, called the hypnagogic state, or during sleep paralysis. In these phases, brain activity often shows high coherence across hemispheres. Some studies suggest a dominance of theta waves, associated with meditation, deep focus, and altered states of consciousness. Unlike lucid dreams, astral experiences are often reported with minimal imagery at first. Instead, people describe intense bodily sensations, vibrations, surges of energy, buzzing in the ears, a feeling of detachment. These sensations are not typical of REM sleep. More importantly, astral projection is often associated with out-of-body experiences, OBEs, some of which occur during trauma, near-death, or surgical anesthesia, states far removed from typical REM cycles. This points to a different mechanism entirely. Lucid dreaming is an internally generated simulation within the architecture of sleep. Astral projection appears to involve a shift in the locus of consciousness itself. The first is a modification of dreams. The second may be an extension of mind beyond biology. And that's not speculation. That's exactly where the science begins to pause, and the mystery begins to deepen. The easiest way to tell the difference between lucid dreaming and astral projection is to be in one, and know what you're perceiving. In a lucid dream, everything is fluid. The landscape can shift without warning. Objects bend, time stretches, characters appear with no explanation. And if you pay attention closely, you'll notice dream logic always dominates. You may try to read a sentence twice and find it changes. Look at your hands. They may melt, morph, or multiply. Clocks twist. Mirrors distort. Physics is optional. You're in control, but you're inside a simulation. And the moment you get too excited or distracted, you usually wake up. Astral projection feels entirely different. There is clarity, often more than in waking life. Rooms appear exactly as they are. Furniture, walls, layout, unchanged. You may feel weightless. You may float. But everything feels real, crisp, stable, hyper-detailed. Some report moving through doors, rising through ceilings, even leaving their home entirely. You don't shape the environment. You explore it. It's not a dream. It's a parallel spatial experience. Another key distinction. Lucid dreams tend to be egoic. You interact with dream characters, fulfill desires, play with reality. Astral projection is often solitary. There's observation, stillness, and sometimes something else. Presence. You feel watched, not threatened, but seen. As if you've entered a place that's aware of you, just as you're becoming aware of it. Some report encounters, not dream figures, but beings, teachers, entities, nonverbal communication. These moments don't feel like hallucination. They feel meaningful, weighty, like something remembered. The bottom line, in a lucid dream, you feel powerful. In astral projection, you feel real. And once you've tasted both, you'll never confuse them again. You don't stumble into lucid dreaming or astral projection by accident, at least not often. They require different entry points and different mental preparations. Lucid dreaming typically begins within sleep. You fall asleep, you dream, and somewhere inside that dream, you realize. There are several techniques to trigger this awakening. The mild method, mnemonic induction of lucid dreams. Before sleep, you repeat a clear intention. Next time I dream, I will realize I'm dreaming. This primes the mind to recognize dream cues. The DILD method, dream-initiated lucid dream. Here, lucidity begins inside an ongoing dream. A strange event, like flying or seeing a deceased relative, shocks your awareness into questioning reality. The WBTB method, wake back to bed. You wake up after 4 to 6 hours of sleep, stay awake briefly, then return to sleep with focus. This increases the chance of entering REM with residual awareness. Lucid dreaming techniques emphasize sleep. They work within REM cycles. They rely on conditioning your brain to become aware inside the unconscious. Astral projection is different. It usually begins without full sleep. You lie still, eyes closed, mind alert. The body relaxes, sometimes to the point of sleep paralysis. And then, the shift begins. One common technique is the rope method. You imagine a rope above your body. With your mind, only your mind, you reach, climb, pull upward. Not physically, energetically. Over time, this creates a dissociation. Your awareness detaches from the physical body. Another method, the vibrational state. As you lie still, you may begin to feel pulsing, buzzing, a rising hum in your spine or skull. If you remain calm and mentally signal readiness, the separation begins. Astral projection doesn't depend on REM. It's not a dream technique. It's a controlled transition into non-physical awareness. That's why many who succeed describe it as exiting, not imagining. The key difference? Lucid dreaming begins with sleep, and you wake up inside it. Astral projection begins with awareness, and you step out from it. If you've tried either of these methods, or had spontaneous experiences, drop a comment with what happened, because the first time is always unforgettable. And sometimes, sharing the story helps the field stabilize around it. Not all inner landscapes are the same. What you experience during lucid dreaming and what you encounter during astral projection might feel similar, but the source of each is fundamentally different. In a lucid dream, the environment is constructed from within: your memories, your imagination, your emotional state. Walk into a city in a lucid dream, and it may morph as you explore. Buildings melt, people change faces, the world reacts to your focus. And why wouldn't it? You're inside your own neural architecture. The brain is generating every detail, rendered by memory, emotion, association. You are the creator of the space, whether consciously or unconsciously. In astral projection, the environment feels independent, stable, non-reactive. You might exit your body and see your room exactly as it is. You might walk through the hallway and everything is where it should be. Yet there's a stillness, a hum, a presence. You are not creating this environment, you are entering it. Some describe this space as the astral plane, not because it floats in the sky, but because it exists outside ordinary perception. There are levels, zones, layers, and some feel more symbolic, others more physical. The deeper you go, the less your surroundings resemble waking reality, but they remain coherent, responsive, but not controllable, like walking through a world that is aware of you. In lucid dreams, the space bends to your will. In astral projection, you bend to the space. This distinction matters, because how the environment behaves tells you where you are. Creation or observation, simulation or entry, mind or consciousness. If you've ever walked through a world that wasn't yours, that didn't dissolve under pressure, you weren't dreaming, you were visiting, and that changes everything. Time is one of the most unstable variables in altered states of consciousness. In lucid dreams, time is elastic. You can live through what feels like hours and wake up to find only minutes have passed, or you can blink inside a dream and wake to daylight. The reason is simple. Lucid dreams occur within your own brain. Time is processed subjectively, and the dream environment can jump forward, rewind, or freeze based on your attention, emotion, and narrative flow. This flexibility is a hallmark of dreams. You meet someone, and suddenly you're married. You walk through a door and arrive in childhood. Your brain isn't tracking linear time, it's generating states. But in astral projection, time feels different, more real. Not because clocks work, they often don't, but because change follows sequence. You walk down a hallway, you observe, you return, and what you did has continuity. You don't jump from moment to moment, you move through them. More intriguingly, some report visiting people, alive or deceased, and later confirming details that were unknown beforehand. These are not dream jumps. They are consistent, sequential, embedded in cause and effect. Others describe time bending in more complex ways, experiencing entire journeys in seconds or accessing events from the future. But even then, the experience feels external, not imagined, observed. The crucial distinction: in lucid dreams, time is narrative. In astral projection, time is spatial. You navigate it like distance, and it responds not to fantasy, but to presence. If you've ever come back from an experience and felt like days passed inside minutes, but with total memory of what occurred, you weren't dreaming. You were elsewhere, and maybe elsewhere. Across thousands of accounts, patterns begin to emerge, not in theory, but in lived experience. In lucid dreams, certain themes are universal: flying, falling, sexual encounters, chasing or being chased, meeting deceased loved ones, navigating surreal cities or abstract landscapes. Many describe moments of overwhelming joy because they realize they can do anything: control the sky, breathe underwater, teleport through thought. Others use lucid dreams for rehearsal, facing fears, resolving conflict, practicing skills. It is, in essence, a high-resolution sandbox rendered by the brain, guided by awareness. The more skilled the dreamer, the more stable the experience. But still, everything remains symbolic. The world mirrors the inner mind. Astral projection accounts are strikingly different. Here, control is minimal, but clarity is maximal. People report exiting their bodies and observing their surroundings accurately. Others travel to familiar places, homes, nature, cities, and verify objects or changes afterward. But beyond the physical, they describe encountering spaces that defy description. Vast fields of light, libraries of nonverbal knowledge, beings, tall, luminous, unthreatening, who don't speak but transmit understanding. These beings don't behave like dream characters. They are autonomous, sometimes curious, sometimes instructive, sometimes distant. Some people access what they call the Akashic records, a symbolic space of collective memory. Others speak of healing chambers or strange geometries pulsing with awareness. And consistently, these experiences feel more real than waking life. People return changed, not because of fantasy, because of contact. The core distinction: in lucid dreams, you talk to yourself. In astral projection, something answers back. And that difference, once felt, is impossible to forget. Not everyone astral projects. Lucid dreams? Almost anyone can train themselves to have them. They're accessible, natural extensions of sleep. A question of technique, repetition, and awareness. But astral projection is different. Rare, elusive, unpredictable. Some people report spontaneous out-of-body experiences from childhood, without training, without effort. Others try for years and feel nothing. Why? The answer is layered. Part of it is physiological. Some researchers suggest that natural dissociative capacity plays a role. Certain people have brains more prone to shifting awareness. They drift into hypnagogia more easily. They enter sleep paralysis without panic. They can hold dual awareness, body still, mind alert. But biology isn't the whole story. Belief matters. Astral projection often requires suspending everything we think we know about self, space, and safety. If your worldview doesn't allow for non-physical travel, your subconscious may block the exit, not out of fear, out of cognitive protection. The ego doesn't want to dissolve. It's built to anchor you. And some people have deeply held emotional material, trauma, fear, shame, that creates energetic weight. Astral projection, in that sense, is not just about technique. It's about readiness. The body must be still, the mind must be sharp, and the field, your energetic environment, must be calm, receptive, open. Some get there through practice, others through accident, trauma, near death, extreme meditation. But one thing is clear: no one forces the exit. It happens when the conditions align, not when you push. So the question isn't, can I leave my body? The real question is, can I release enough of who I think I am to let go? At first glance, lucid dreaming and astral projection seem like separate paths, different goals, different rules, different states of consciousness, but there's a bridge. Some call it the phase, a transitional space, not quite dream, not yet out of body, a zone where perception becomes fluid and choice becomes architecture. Here's what many experienced explorers report. A lucid dream begins, vivid, surreal, fluid. But instead of shaping the dream, they pause, become still, withdraw from control. Then, something shifts. The environment stabilizes. The atmosphere changes. The dream no longer responds to intention. Suddenly, it feels external. Walls harden, perspective grounds, and often, they find themselves floating, watching their own body. This isn't imagination, it's a change in orientation. By ceasing to control the dream, they've exited it. This technique is called dream conversion. The logic: if you're already inside a lucid dream, your mind is conscious, your body is asleep. The conditions for astral projection are already in place. The only barrier is identification. You must stop seeing the dream as yours. Let it go. And in that surrender, the projection begins. Some use intention. In this dream, I will leave my body. Others create portals, step into mirrors, climb staircases, fall backward. Each symbolic gesture becomes a psychological key, but not all succeed, because many get caught in the seduction of control, and lucid dreaming, by its nature, feeds that impulse. The bridge only forms when the mind becomes still enough to exit self-creation. In other words, lucid dreaming is the playground, astral projection is the departure. And yes, you can start in one and end in the other, but only if you're willing to stop shaping the dream and start listening to what's beyond it. No exploration of altered states is complete without confronting the shadows around them. Lucid dreaming and astral projection both carry risks, not of physical harm, but of psychological confusion, emotional overload, and spiritual distortion. Let's begin with lucid dreaming. The main danger here is obsession. When you gain full control of your dream world, you can create anything: pleasure, adventure, power. But that control can become addictive. Some fall into the habit of escape. They seek the dream over waking life. Reality becomes dull. Responsibilities fade. The line between dream logic and real consequence blurs, and over time, that distortion fragments the self. Another risk: dream ego inflation. If everything obeys your will, your unconscious begins reinforcing the illusion of total control until you wake up and realize the world isn't programmable. Now consider astral projection. Here, the risk is not indulgence, but disorientation. The experiences are so vivid, so intense, they can shake the foundation of belief. Some feel they've contacted beings. Others report symbolic environments, entities, downloads of information. And while many experiences are peaceful, some are not. Because when you leave your body, you're exposed to more than just your expectations. You enter unknown spaces, some neutral, some reflective, some unstable. Fear amplifies this. If you carry unresolved trauma, if your mind isn't grounded, the experience can spiral. Panic, hallucination, sleep paralysis, emotional whiplash. Then there's the cultural fear. Will I get stuck outside my body? Can something else enter while I'm gone? There's no empirical evidence to support this, but belief matters, because belief shapes reaction, and reaction shapes outcome. The real danger is not the experience itself, but what you project into it. So here's the rule. Approach altered states with clarity, not fantasy. Ground yourself. Study, meditate, integrate, because these are not games. They are tools, and a tool in the wrong hands becomes a weapon. If this part gave you pause, good. That's awareness sharpening. Comment "I walk awake" if you're here to explore, not escape. You've seen the structures, heard the science, felt the contrast. Lucid dreaming is the conscious manipulation of a world generated by the subconscious. It is inner theater. Your mind, scripted by memory and emotion, rendered in surreal form. You become the director. You edit the dream. You fly because you expect to. You summon because you desire to. You change the dream because the dream is yours. Astral projection is the conscious detachment from the physical body and brain-based identity. It is not a dream. It is a shift in orientation, where you stop being the narrator and become the witness. The environment no longer obeys your will. It holds its own structure. It exists whether or not you perceive it. And you do not shape it. You enter it. The lucid dream reflects you. The astral plane reveals something beyond you. That's the difference. But here's why it matters. Each experience teaches you something different. Lucid dreaming teaches you the mind's power, how belief, focus, and intent shape perception. It trains your awareness, sharpens memory, gives insight into your inner architecture. Astral projection teaches you humility, that awareness can exist beyond thought, that consciousness may not be confined to the skull, that you are not your body, and never were. One expands the inner world, the other dissolves its edges. Both are valuable, but confusing one for the other leads to misunderstanding, inflation, or fear. And in a world already blurred by illusion, clarity is power. So the next time you close your eyes and drift, ask yourself, am I dreaming what I made? Or have I stepped into something that was always there? Because one reveals the self, the other transcends it. And knowing that difference is the beginning of real exploration.